Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Afif Hibban. I want to deliver summary materials of GCQ Week 9 until 15. The first is definition and theory governance. The fact that governance emerged as an issue across a large range of discipline and research programs cannot, we argue, be put down to the fact that social scientists are these dedicated followers of fashion, jumping on whatever research program or conceptual discussion that happens to be passive. Rather, we argue that the rise in interest in governance reflects change in our society and researchers' attempts to come to grips with the new empirical phenomena and practice that they are observing. And the Finance Corporation and Financial Service Authority, Indonesia Corporate Governance Manual. Application of GICI principles in corporate governance can create a good, healthy, and balanced corporate environment. Our goal then is to draw on the rich insight of the engaged in studying and debating governance across a range of disciplines and research programs. Our endpoint is multidisciplinary in that we seek to combine in our scientists insight from different disciplines in order to illuminate governance theory. Week 10. Governance within public administration and political science. Not all governance scholars from public administration, let alone political science, would be willing to accept the idea that their goal was or should be to make a disjoint state work, as a prediction suggests, but most would go along with the claim that new thinking about governance has been introduced into the discipline because of shift in the context for governing. And finally, we examine the contribution of cultural international theory. As will become clear, there are some parallels between these theoretical traits and the different broad types of the governance mechanism identified in the previous section of the chapter. This concern about managing network has grown into one of the key subfields of the governance literature, and there has developed a debate around the concept of meta-governance. Week 11. Link between governance and international relations. The governance literature in AR carries a number of important messages. The first is the globalization-based governance process of considerable complexity and ambiguity. The second is that beyond nation states, there is a whole array of actors and institutions involved in the global governance. The state has a lot of develop a deficit in the capacities, but as other writers are quick to point out, the state remains an influential actor in global governance. With little sense of history, they exclude the former strength of nation states with little sense of global variety. Week 12. The link between governance and social legal study. First law, in the approach, what also emerges in a new positioning of the individual is quite different from that within the conventional legal discipline. Instead, the analytical focus is centered on the individual who stands at the intersection of many different legal domains. Is there any chronology to the emerging law? The perspective remains that the more complex a society, the greater appearance there will be of rational control. But the more areas of distraction and semi-autonomous activity there will be in the subparts of the society, both of formal and informal. And the good governance concerns an optimal division between government, market, and civil society, for which legal and administrative changes are necessary. It was essentially a legal constraint on the World Bank in its article of agreement that forbade bank from taking non-economic consideration. Pinda Beckman pointed out that this was a discussion regarding the legal meaning of the concept economy and political and of relationship between the two. Victor and corporate governance definition. Firstly, it covers in the manner which shareholders, managers, employers, creditors, customers, and the other stakeholders interact with one another in shaping corporate strategies. Secondly, it relates to public policy and adequate legal regulatory framework, which are essential of development of good system of governance. Defined as such, corporate governance is viewed as a key element in improving the macroeconomic efficiency of firm, affecting the function of capital markets and inflation resource allocation. Week 14. Participant in governance. In the last 2 decades, participatory governance has become widespread as a practical response to a new context of governing. The formal state and apparatus has frequently proved to be inadequate in dealing with growing social complexity, and actors from the voluntary and private sectors have become increasingly involved in the governance process. Week 15, Environmental Governance Definition. By focusing on economic arguments that might have caused those who have dismissed environmental concern as secondary to growth to take notice of environment as a result of these classic failures. The very notion of global environmental change has become contested. An important issue is the respect is whether the concept of environmental change ought to be treated simply as a physical change or in fact as a social phenomenon resulting from particular human activities or international practice. Thanks. Thank you. That's all for me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.